Hey everyone, this is Tanner with the Gospel Proclamation, and we're excited to share a new project that we really believe is of utmost importance and has actually been in development for some time. We're calling it the Unamended Christadelphian First Principles Project. Now, the purpose of this project is to really strengthen the unamended body on those essential elements of the gospel and do so in a way that it's easy to understand, it's accessible, and very importantly, it's concise. And I believe there's been a need for something of this kind for a long time, actually. But it was actually only when I spoke with my aunt, her sister Bonnie Washek, who brought up this project idea that the ball actually started rolling and everything kind of came together. I've got Sister Bonnie with me here, and she's the one who's actually helping coordinate teachers for this project, do a lot of behind the scenes things because there's a lot to this. So, Bonnie, can you just introduce yourself and like where did this idea come from on your end?
Okay, thank you, Tanner. As Tanner said, I'm Sister Bonnie Washek from the St. Louis Ecclesia, and I have been a member of that ecclesia all my life. And as Tanner said, he and I are related as aunt and great nephew, and we are fourth and sixth generation Unamended Christadelphians. Well, Tanner, in order to kind of tell you where this came from, I have to go back a number of years. And so what I will say is when I was young, I heard the term first principle so often that it was as familiar to me as Hero Israel and In the Beginning. And I was too young to really know what first principles meant, but I was learning them from my parents and from other teachers and of other speakers. But it took a while for them to really start gelling to where they made sense, and I began to know what they were. And really, when I began to really understand what first principles were, was when I was allowed to go to church with my cousins or my friends, and I heard things spoken in those churches, I was readily able to compare that to what I had been taught and able to kind of realize the difference. And that process really helped strengthen my belief. Now, fast forward a couple years from that, I'd say, I don't know, anywhere between 13 and 15 years ago, I started thinking, I haven't heard the term first principles in quite a while and really bothersome. And so I went and spoke to several other brothers and sisters, and they agreed with me, but we didn't really do anything about it. We just thought, no, we're not hearing it about, and it's a shame that we're not hearing it. So, but one thing I did decide to do is I wrote a class for young people. And I didn't write the class. I took the class from Brother Dunaway's Arkansas First Principles class, from Brother Butch Shelton's First Principles book, and from Brother Butch Shelton's writings. And I gave that class in Arkansas to the 12-year-olds. And then we jump ahead another few years to this year, earlier this year. And I can't tell you what it was, but something got me thinking about first principles again. And again, it was really bothersome. So I made a suggestion to our two ecclesias that the brothers start doing semi-regular first principle lectures. And that has worked out really well. But then I had also reached out to several other entities to see how we might be able to do some structured first principles class to the masses. And to tell you the truth, I really wasn't very happy with the responses I got. So at that point, I said to myself, well, you can just give up or you can keep trying. So I said, well, we're going to keep trying because it's an important issue. So I kept thinking about it and thinking about what could I do. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a platform. So as often I drive, and driving makes me think. It helps me think well. And one day I was driving down the road, and literally this word just popped into my head. I have no idea where it came from, and it was podcast. Now, I want to tell you, I've never listened to a podcast. I don't know how to access a podcast, but I knew there were things that people listen to. As a matter of fact, some members of my family listen to podcasts. So I thought about it some more, did a little bit of research, and thought, well, it's doable. So I went to a couple of young people that I know and that I trusted to tell me the truth about whether or not this was a good idea. And I got positive feedback from them. So I thought about it a little bit more, and there were several challenges. I'm not very good with technology. I can get by with my computer and my phone and stuff, but I don't know my way around all the new stuff. So that was a challenge. And also, I'm a sister, and I fully support and believe in the biblical role that women have in a religious community. So I needed to find a brother that knew technology and one that was as passionate about the first principles as I am. And so my nephew Tanner came to mind. So now we don't live close together. We live about 5 hours apart, but I happen to be down in Southwest Missouri. And I called Tanner and asked if he had some time to talk. I wanted to see his two little girls, but they weren't there, but he was. So I told him, I said, I have something I want to talk to you about. So I started talking to him about what I was thinking. He started getting excited and said he was thinking about the same thing. And the more we talked, we decided it was something that we could do. And the first principles, Unamended Christadelphian project was born. And um, and that's kind of how this came to be. So as Tanner said, I'm kind of working on the back end at this point, and he is working more on the content. So I'm going to turn it back to him to give you a little bit more information on the content of this.
Yeah, thanks, Bonnie. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny when she was talking to me about it because I was really thinking about doing the same thing, but there's so much to it. There's a lot of work involved, and I thought, well, I'd really need to have help to do this. And then she said, "Hey, can I come by?" And it just worked out perfectly. And we've invested a lot of time in ensuring that this is like it's done right the first time. It's as structured and concise as it as possible. And our hope is that this podcast is going to shine light on these unamended first principles and really stir a renewed interest in the very foundations of our belief. So the intent is that these podcasts they're useful for the individual, for the family, for young person, for adult classes, all of it. And this is based on the Christadelphian Statement of Faith as printed by the Advocate, Christadelphian Advocate. So it is the unamended Statement of Faith, and there are numerous versions of the Statement of Faith. Now, there was one original one, and just throughout the course of time, different versions came up. This first podcast that you're listening to now the goal is really just to explain the project, where it came from, and what it's going to be like. The second podcast is going to explain the importance of first principles as taught through Scripture, which is very important. That these are biblical things, scriptural things we're talking about, and it's also going to give a brief history of the Statement of Faith and why we're using this particular version, because the other goal is to explain why there are so many different versions out there too. And then after that, each proposition, every doctrine to be rejected, and the commandments of Christ, they're all going to have their own concise podcast. And the goal is just to explain what it is, what it means, and why it's a first principle. Now, some podcasts are going to be short, some are going to be longer, just because some propositions they're going to take more time to cover than others. But each is going to have its own podcast, so this is very easy to navigate. And our hope is to keep all these between 10 and 45, 50 minutes long. Now, this is a big project. It's going to take a significant amount of time to complete, but this is an important subject. There's a big need for it, and there's a lot of distractions in this world. And the hope is, Lord willing, that this is going to help focus on the things that are important, and this is going to be an asset to the body as we get closer to Christ's return. So if anyone has any questions or suggestions, you can contact us at our email, which is editor at thegospelproclamation.com or on the Gospel Proclamation website. There's a connect with us button. You can connect with us there. And we hope that you benefit from this project, that you enjoy it, and we will see you next time.